your speed, driver caliber speed is about 113.5 miles per hour. That's a slight over elite man's average. This includes tour professionals and college players and some teaching professionals.
Okay.
So you're generating a bit more speed than the average. And also, when it's normalized to your body height, still you're generating more than the average. The swing time is about 850 milliseconds. So man's average is about slight over 1,000. So that means you're using less time during the swing, which is good. In the backswing, the middle thick line is the average. Thin lines are the plus minus 1 standard deviation. So the band is a bit thick here. That means in the backswing, the speed shows caliber speed shows more standard deviation. So that means in the backswing, it's not consistent. From swing to swing, your backswing caliber speed changes. That's why you have a thicker band here. Downswing is pretty much, pretty thin here because you have to do your maximum. But here in the backswing, you see from trial to trial some variations here. And then this is the top view. And this large rectangle is the swing plane. And then the smaller rectangle here is the hand motion plane. And both are inward. So you tend to move the club head and also the hands over out to in. Okay. And so the swing plane is about about 4 degrees inward. Your hand motion plane is about 7 degrees inward here. So this generally means that you're using your arms. It's arm driven here. Okay. When you let it go, then for the driver condition, the swing plane should be slightly outward because you are hitting it up.
The rectangle should be
So
out.
direction should be slightly this side on this side here, and the hand motion plane is more aligned toward the target line. But in your case, both are inward. Now this is when we align everything along the swing plane here. So relative to swing plane, in the backswing, your club head path is a lot flatter here. And then your swing plane is actually fairly steep here. The mean is 50 degrees. For your height, it should be maybe 46 or 47 degrees. So generally, it passes through about at this point here, the midsection of trunk, but yours is a bit steeper. Then what happens if the club aligns steep like this, you can easily introduce this motion here. So at impact here, this motion. So then you have trial to trial. If you have error in the face angle, then you can have scatter. But when the swing plane is a bit flatter here, the shaft will be aligned this way here, then the error in face angle is coming from this motion here. So if you hit it early, or maybe if you hit it early, then you're here. If it's late, then the disc goes turn this much and then hit. So this is the error you have. But when it becomes steep, this causes error here. So
forearm rotation is bad.
And also,
the ability to get the forearm.
Because of the moment of inertia, this is easier to rotate. But rotating this way is more difficult, or this way is more difficult. But this is easy because it has a small moment of inertia. So you can easily have inconsistent face angle here. But that's why you have to avoid the really steep swing plane. And imagine if this goes up this way here and then have an angle here. When you have an angle, it's hard to turn it this way here. So it's more coming from this motion here. But this is less sensitive to than this one here. So in general, if you have too steep swing plane, that's not good.
Okay.
One, it is coming from the arm action. When you have a steeper swing plane than normal, then it's an arm-driven swing. And also when it's a steep, it's hard to control the face angle. So you have to be careful. And then your hand motion plane and the swing plane are basically showing the same slope here. So your hand motion plane and the swing plane are fairly aligned. So it's the whole thing is a straight line here. So it's easy to introduce this motion here.
Oh, okay.
You need to have an angle here. So usually the hand motion plane is about 9 degrees, 10 degrees steeper than the swing plane.
So hands down more.
The hands are moving up and down more than the club head. So about 9 to 10 degree difference. But in your case, the slopes are the same.
And is that due to wrist?
No.
Or is that due to just...
You're just swinging with your arms.
Okay.
And then your backswing is really short.
I know, I've been trying to work on it, I just can't.
Because of that, you're rushing,
Yeah.
and you are relying on your muscles. So that's
you told me
why
last time.
that's why the swing plane becomes steep like this. So if it's too flat, it's also a problem. But generally, if it's reasonable, then you have an angle here between the hand motion plane and swing plane. You form an angle, about 9 degree, 10 degree angle here. Then the club is more moving this way. But in your case, currently, the arms and club are moving on the same plane. So as you can see here in the slope, 50 and 50 here. So your arm, the hand motion plane is flat, while your swing plane is quite steep. That's why the angle is reduced. And then the pelvis motion here, so pelvis rotation during the backswing, and then this is the pelvis rotation toward the target at impact. Your body is not turning your pelvis is not turning as much. Usually these two should be balanced here. So this peak, and then the pelvis rotation angle. The red line shows the rotation, pelvis rotation. The angle at impact should be reasonably balanced here. But you're not turning to the left side as much.
That dotted line straight up and down, that's impact?
Yeah, so this
You
red
want
line
that red line to be all the way to the
go
top 40?
up to this one here. Yeah, so that generally you have a similar degree of rotation this way, and then at impact. After impact, you can go more.
Yeah.
But so you are not turning your body as much because you don't have time to turn because you're busy of pushing it with your arms. The blue line is a lateral tilt, so pelvis going this way. This angle is reasonable. The upper one is the red line shows the forward backward motion of the pelvis, and the blue is up and down motion. Green is away and the toward motion. So at 1, which is the beginning of the backswing, this is the initial setup position here, but you're already here, so you're moving laterally. You have an early motion. But generally, your body is leaning back away quite a bit here. Then, if you want to move this way here, then it's a spinning motion here. So no need to actually lean like this. A little bit, or more or less upright here. No need to go like this. Part of the reason is your right hand is holding it this way here. So this side is low here. This means your right arm is quite dominant when you hold it this way here. Try to hit it with this. But then in this swing, you don't have really a release, but rather you keep pushing it
Yeah.
with the arm muscles here. So from here to here, you have away motion, and then the club head starts moving. So this much away, and then recentering here. But this recentering is a bit late. So by the time you reach this 5, which is the endopelvis rotation here, you have to already go back to the initial position here. So you need to have more recentering motion here early, and then keep going. But you initially shift away, and then by the time you finish the rotation, you are not recentering enough. Still staying on this side here. Stop about here. This is the most you go. Mm-hmm. And from here, it's fairly upper body to rhythm swing here. But last time we practiced the bigger backswing, and then working on the rhythm by saying what the knau, kapow, kabam. You keep working on it.
Okay.
And then also your thick grip. I don't know how you got that thick grip, but what is the main reason for using thick grip?
Because I turned the ball over too much, so I felt more comfortable keeping my strong grip on a smaller grip is really strong, and that too much play in my fingers. So I got the bigger grip so I could really go at it and not worry about the face closing too much.
Sometimes when you have a thinner grip, you have a better feel. But it's a thick one. You can hit it hard. Yeah. But sometimes you lose the feel.
Okay.
So
I can change grips. Anything normal grip?
I tried the jumbo grip once, and then after playing 2 rounds, I threw it away.
Also, I feel like my tendency on small grip is to grip really hard, and with the bigger grips, I tend to hold it lighter.
Yeah.
But I'm not married to it. Like if I.
Yeah, for the moment, it's just I don't know exactly what it causes, but generally, so it makes it a bit easier for you to just rely on your arms.
The bigger grip does?
Yeah. Try to hit it hard. And then this forward, backward motion, forward, backward, and forward. The pattern is okay. The blue one is up and down motion, but you're not going down enough, and then so you're going up here. So we'll see this in the center of mass motion here. So this is the whole body center of mass, the red dot here. So it's moving initially away and then going up. So at the end of pelvis rotation, 5 here, you reach the high point. And then when the club is aligned vertically, here you have the low point here, and then it's going up. In order to make the swing more rhythmic, then you have to allow your body, your center of mass, go down more. But this is the initial position. You're just going down to the initial position, and then start going up here. That means that you are not allowing your body to drop that much. So in order to have a rhythmic motion here, you have to push this up and then let it drop and push. But so you're not dropping this enough. Okay. And then when you let the center mass drop, then you can develop good amount of force by slowing down the downward motion. You can generate enough ground reaction force by slowing down the downward motion. So here, this red line is the total vertical force here. And then, so when you just slow down the downward motion, and then you reach the peak easily. But this peak is way above elite man's average here. So generally, generating good amount of force is okay. However, this is too much for you. So what happens is that at impact, the force goes, this is the body weight line here, and it goes below the body weight at impact. It's called the unweighting. So the force goes above and then below here, the body weight line, and then hard push here, and the impact, it goes below the body weight.
So I'm pushing.
It's too much. It's too much.
When I'm pushing, is it supposed to be pushing at impact or?
No, no, no. The timing is okay, but this is too
Okay.
much. That means you have an intentional push here, almost like a jumping
Okay.
type motion here. So when you drop the body, the center of mass more, and then going up, it's a natural rhythmic push. But in this case, you have intentional effort to push the ground. With that, this is too much, and then at impact, it goes below the body weight. So what
Is
happens?
that usually what happens at impact, though? It's below the body weight at impact? Or
No,
it should
no.
be-
It's still body weight or slight above.
Okay.
So when you have feel of just standing on the lead side, then the force will be above the body weight. But when you feel you are jumping, then you have unweighting here. So when you have unweighting, then that means that this push is a bit too much. So and then later we'll talk about this, but when it becomes unweighting, the total force passes the left side of the center of mass. It actually generates torque in the opposite direction, interfering with this rotation here, because the torque is acting in the opposite direction.
So where should that force be pointing at impact?
It should be going this way here,
Straight up? Okay.
either through the center of mass or slightly on this side.
Is that where the kind of the
So,
releasing the club?
so when you swing, if your feel is swinging through and then standing here, then you don't have to push that much, and then you don't have unweighting at impact. But when you have a steep swing plane here, and then try to almost jump, then you have unweighting at impact. That's a bit too much. So the goal is to let it go through instead of pushing too much, and then you have to use this. You put a lot of muscular effort. So when you put a lot of muscular effort, then the swing becomes more difficult. And then when you play, several consecutive rounds, then you can easily get tired.
Yeah.
When you put a lot of effort there. So go back to pelvis here. So pelvis should go down a bit more and then come up maybe about this much. No need to go this high here. Okay, go down.
That's total.
So you need to have sort of this vertical rhythm here. That gives good overall rhythm. But when you don't have this up and down motion, then what happens is you rely on the upper body here. In terms of X factor, because you're cutting the backswing short, so you don't have enough separation here. So let me change the scale here.
I feel like my hips and my shoulders move together, right?
Yeah. So and then because your backswing is short, you are stopping about here. So you don't need more separation here. So this is
letting the shoulders go more.
When you have bigger swing, then obviously the shoulders go a bit more. This is men's average, elite men's average separation between the hip line and shoulder line. This is a top of backswing here, or slight past the top of. This is top of backswing. This is the maximum here. But your shoulder still has not turned 90 degrees yet because you're cutting it short. Yet try to hit it.
So the shoulders aren't 90, but I feel like if I still keep going, my hips are going to keep going with it.
Not necessarily.
Are my hips okay?
It's because of your body posture here. You are letting if the right hip goes backward here, and then you try to turn more, then that happens.
Oh, okay.
But actually, so you have to go more laterally here, and then using the right leg well and then try to support the right side up here instead of letting it go back here. So you're pretty much going to this position here without turning the shoulder that much. And then when you turn the shoulder, then this will go a bit more. It's too much rotation. So you may be afraid of turning the pelvis too much.
Yeah.
So that's why you will cut it short. But
Right.
actually, in the backswing, we're turning this way here instead of moving the hip backward here and going almost like this position here. You see your left knee is going inward here. That means you have tendency of turning too much.
Yeah.
The only way you can stop this is making the backswing short. So in the frontal view, you see this knee is sticking out here this way. This knee is in. That means that your pelvis is turning too much.
Okay.
So if you go a bit more, then you will have definitely more pelvis turn. And then in the frontal view, pretty much the leg should be leg should appear straight here. And this should be straight.
So instead of like angled, it should be up on top of it.
So here, this can
Or
be
just the force itself.
the knee is still flexed here, but it will show more this way. The thigh is going this way here.
Okay.
For that, the pelvis should stay here instead of going this way here. So this is somewhat a spinning motion here.
Yeah.
So imagine you're just turning your trunk about the spine axis here, having a club in front of your chest here, and when you try to turn this way, then the hip cannot go backward that much because you're turning about the spine axis. But
Up, not back.
if you spin here, spinning, then this easily goes backward here. This knee sticks out this way, this goes into this position here. Rather, go this way here. So in the
This knee's not going in, it's just extending.
Yep.
It's kind of going in if you're looking at it front on, like from here to here, but it's more up.
It's more, it should appear straight aligned here. Although it's still, it can be bent.
Yeah.
Particularly this one will flex a lot more, but in the front of view, it looks like it's straight here. But these go this way here,
You're spinning.
that means you're spinning and you're turning too much. But
That's
you know,
psychology, man.
yeah, then when the body turns excessively, so here's the swing plane, let's say. When you move the club and the hand pretty much in this direction, along this direction here, so it's going high up here, but if you spin,
You're going into it.
you are promoting flat motion here. So that's why initially your club head pad is flat. So I forgot to mention that one, but so here, going flat initially, and then you have to lift this up. So this motion is a spinning motion here, because this is going backward here, the overall spinning. That's why the club head is going flat here. And,
So it needs to be more on that other line.
and after that, eventually you have to lift this up. And you are stopping about here. So backswing is small. But if you keep doing this, then what happens is the club head goes here, it'll give you a crossover alignment. So although it looks like it's aligned toward the target, but it's still showing crossover alignment here. If you draw, this is swing plane here, so the hands are deviated this much from the swing plane.
Above it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your club head is deviated from the swing plane this much here. The club head shows a lot more deviation than the hand from the swing plane. This is crossover, no matter how big your backswing is. This is caused by this flat club head pad here in the backswing. So this motion is coming from your initial spinning motion here. Instead, you move this along the swing plane, but let's say currently your swing plane is a bit steep. But let's say we connect this point and this point here.
Mm-hmm.
So say your swing plane is running this way here, okay?
Correct.
Then the club head should move along the swing plane initially, more or less, and then goes above and then make a good looping motion and coming down here.
And it comes back down onto the plane.
So it's easier to bring this a bit higher here and then
Drop it.
dropping to a reasonable swing plane.
Does the hand
but if
stay
you go
on that swing plane throughout?
no, the
When
hand
it goes up as well?
hand plane is about 9 to 10 degrees steeper than the swing plane. The hand has to go higher.
Okay.
Your elbow actually follows the swing plane.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So in the backswing,
So my elbow is kind of following it
your elbow is going this way here. Go flat here.
flat.
If you, again, draw a line from here through this elbow, okay? Okay, so say this is a reasonable swing plane here. Then, relative to that, your elbow is still going a bit lower.
Over.
It gives this flat backswing here. When you start with the flat backswing, then eventually you have to bring this up here. The only way you do that is go flat and then bring this high up here. This automatically gives a crossover alignment. So in order to reduce that crossover, you are shortening the backswing. So with the shortening of the backswing, you are actually cheating here. If you maintain this motion, then this will continue going this way, and you have severe crossover alignment. But you don't want to go there, so you are shortening the backswing. It appears that if you get a lesson from a golf tech guy, for example, they'll just draw a line here. Oh, this is toward the target.
Yeah.
So this is okay. They may say that.
Yeah.
But actually, this is crossover.
Right.
No matter how
Just
large
it's short. It looks okay because it's short on 2D video, but
So what we have to look at in terms of the alignment of the club is the deviation of the hands and the club head from the string plane here. So this deviation is a lot smaller than this one here, this crossover. When the club actually shows a more parallel alignment with the string plane, then that's a parallel alignment. When the club head stays closer to the string plane, then the hands is layoff. But this is crossover here. It's coming from your initial flat backswing. This is coming from your spinning motion here. So if you imagine that you have a swing plane here, from the ball to this elbow, this is a typical swing plane here.
yeah.
If you're moving the club head along this plane here, this is the path here. Then your elbow will move along that direction. And eventually, when the elbow moves along that direction, your hands are above the elbow here.
Yeah.
So your hand will go higher. Then here, the club will maintain fairly parallel alignment to the swing plane here. And on the way down, your elbow can drop here for shallowing motion.
Yeah.
But on the way up, you are maintaining this plane here. Elbow has to go up here. Then your head never goes flat here. Your head will follow the swing plane and then go above the swing plane and coming down here. You have a natural shallowing motion. But in this one, you are going flat here and then lifting this here. Then on the way down, it's hard to bring this down here. Because you were from low here and then lifted this up and then coming down, this is difficult. But if you go a bit higher here and then dropping this, it's a lot easier. Besides, the gravity is always pulling things downward. So it's a lot more natural. So these are too flat and you're going into the crossover alignment. And then on the way down, you have to use your arms because unless you drop it here, you go high up and unless you drop this here, swinging this way, but you decide to go with this action here, you're starting from there. So the club head is gradually moving toward the swing plane. So by the time you reach just a parallel position here, still the club head is way above the swing plane here. And then in the follow through, you have less deviation here. So this shows a tendency of the so-called spiral swing here. because arm dominant here. But when this is dropped here, so we maintain a parallel alignment and have a bigger backswing. So even though backswing is bigger, but still the club stays parallel to the swing plane here. On the way down, your downward motion becomes a lot simpler. You don't have to move the hands inward. From there, just coming down and throw here. That's what the rope swing is all about.
Yeah.
When you practice rope swing, only when the hands move properly, then your rope also moves properly.
The rope swings feel good. Just when I put a ball in front of me,
Because you have a thick grip, and then you can easily manipulate your club. So you chose to use your muscles to drive it here. In the rope swing, it's like you are completely relaxing your muscles here. If it is a club, and if you want to come up with a similar motion, then you have to completely relax your wrist. But in this one, you're hitting, as soon as you go over and then try to hit this way, you don't relax. Then you're forcing the club motion. So you have to allow this motion here. So your wrist complex, not only the wrist motion, but also pronation, supination, these should be used well. So you have to allow the club head move nicely, but then you need this motion here. But when you try to use your muscles here, then generally you downplay the wrist. So if you go to the kinematic sequence here, this is the wrist angular velocity, the pink line here. This is below man's average. So although your actual club speed is slightly above elite man's average, but if you look at the wrist angular velocity, it's below elite man's average.
I'm losing a lot of power.
So
there.
that means you're not utilizing your wrist complex that way. So
I think I'm really scared of flipping. I'm scared of the flip.
but particularly when you have a really steep swing plane, then this can create a lot of problem. So you have to have this feel is coming down here and then turning this way here. But if you are coming down this way here, when you try to do this, you have easily manipulate this. But if you have this motion here, so the swing plane is a bit flatter than your hand motion plane, then you can really add this motion here. Swing through, release. But currently you're just pushing and hitting. And then this is, you show some flipping here. Push, and in the end, try to do this. So again, going back to the swing plane. So initial club head motion is flat here is because you are spinning. That spinning motion gives initial flat pelvis rotation here. And then the hip is moving backward quite a bit here. If you keep going, you'll have crossover alignment, and then pelvis rotates a bit too much. And then still the club is not parallel to the swing plane, so you have to manipulate it. Then you will have even worse inward hand pad. So here, because you're cutting it short, the X factor is not reaching man's average here. So this separation is a bit smaller than typical here. When you use the momentum well and then just throw, let it go and then coming down, then you will be able to increase the separation here. And also go back to this one here. So one is the beginning of the backswing, so when the club head starts moving. Two is when the club becomes horizontal. And then here, 3 and 4 are actually overlapped here. 3 is when the lead arm becomes parallel to the ground. 4 is when the club aligns vertically in the frontal view. These two are happening at the same time for you. That means you're introducing wrist cock a bit early.
Wrist cock early. Okay.
So in the frontal
So
view,
should it be?
if you look at this in the frontal view, you see lead arm is parallel to the ground, the club aligns vertically almost at the same time here.
Huh.
But
Not
normally
good.
when your lead arm is parallel to ground, the club still shows a disalignment here.
Okay.
So in other words, in order to do this, you have to let the club head go in the away direction, throw, and then make a large arc here, and then bring this. But what happens is at the beginning, you're spinning and moving it to flat here. And then with that, you have a quick wrist motion here. So 3 and 4 are overlapped here. 5 is end of pelvis rotation. 6 is top of backswing here. But you do also have a positive side, so I will talk about that later. But in terms of X factor, you don't have enough separation. This angle is not important. These are not really correlated to club speed or anything. But the pattern tells me how you're moving your trunk in the backswing. And this should show a sufficient separation and continuous separation. So you have a continuous separation, although the slope changes a little bit, but you have continuous separation. So this slope change means you initially have upper body driven turn here. You have spinning motion, and then later when the body turns together, then the slope decreases a little bit, but it's not too bad. So still it's more or less a continuous separation all the way, but not enough separation here. And then kinematic sequence. So these are all rotational velocities. The red line is the pelvis, green is thorax, blue is the shoulders. And in the backswing, as you can see, pelvis reaches peak angular velocity here, thorax is here, and the shoulders here. They are happening way early. It's because of your initial spinning motion. So rather, these should occur more in the middle of the backswing here. So from here to this is the top of backswing, so about here. In the middle of the backswing, if these peaks occur, then the gray is the arms. Arm peak angular velocity will be delayed. Then club peak angular velocity will be delayed. So you're building climax toward the end of the backswing. So, and then with the faster motion here, you're building the climax and then going into downswing, versus you have a quick motion and lift this up here. So these are reaching peak angular velocity too early. And then
quick, slow, and then fast.
So when you have this quick action, then you have a lot of time here. So this causes hesitation here. So I will show you the effect of this hesitation later. In the transition here, generally these show a sequential transition here. The pelvis, thorax, shoulders, arms, and the club here. But these are somewhat clustered. So these are happening a bit close to each other, then club here. But usually from the pelvis to a thorax, you should have good time difference here. When you have enough separation, then pelvis turns back, and then later thorax turns back. Between these two, you should have a good time gap here. And as you go this way, the time gap decreases a bit, But in your case, these are pretty much similarly spaced here, and then here we see big gap here. So the body tends to turn more, at the same time together. It's clustered. And then the timing of the peak angular velocity in the downswing here. So the red line reaches the peak angular velocity here. This is the pelvis. This is a bit delayed. So the peak has to occur about here, but it's slightly delayed. And then the pelvis, thorax together, and the arms here. So you see, I see a tendency of a slightly delayed pelvis peak. It's because the pelvis is not accelerating rapidly here. So here, if you look at the shape of the red line here, is gradually increasing here. So it's because you have too much time here. But if these peaks are more happening at the center here, then you have faster transition. Then this will also rise quickly here. So in general, timing-wise, I see a slight delay here. When you have this delay, then you cannot have enough loss of angular velocity. Body loses angular velocity, but the club keeps accelerating. So when you reach peak angular velocity a bit early, then you have enough time from the peak to impact. So during that time period, the body slows down, the club keeps accelerating. With that, you can have more wrist angular velocity. However,
I don't have that.
yeah, this is not, reaching the elite man's average value. So in spite you are generating more clever speed than the elite man's average, but in terms of wrist, the use of wrist here, it's not much. It's because you don't have enough wrist cock to start with, because your backswing is quite short here. From there, you are accelerating by using your muscles here. But if you give a bit more backswing, just to throw actively and bigger backswing, from there, let it go, then you will be able to use the wrist a lot more. So too early. These peaks are happening too early. So you have early, quick turn at the beginning. That's the cause of flat club head path. And then later you are lifting the arms and club up. And then this is a kind of hesitation phase here. Now, when this happens, let's go to the force here, to ground reaction force. So this is the beginning of the backswing, and then you already reach the peak forces forward and backward direction. So this force is the force acting on the trail side. This is the force acting on the lead side. But, so if we go to that point here, you see the forces are acting this way and then backward here. Okay, so the force acting on the trail side, this is the force acting on the trail foot. This is the force acting on the lead foot here. So they show this pattern here, right? This peak is too early here. So this should happen somewhere here, but you have really early action here. And then after that, it's slowly decreasing and increasing here. But if you delay these a little bit here, so the peak occurs somewhere here, from the peak, and you have more rapid deceleration, acceleration, or the change in the force value.
You want them.
So you will have a more clear X shape here. But this one, because you reach the peak value too early, then the slope is a bit flat here, and then this is hesitation phase here. When you have hesitation, this is the vertical ground reaction force. The red one is total force. This is the force acting on the trail foot. This is the force acting on the leader foot. And then for the total force here, the unit is the body weight here. So this is one body weight. You have more force at the beginning. So you have active body action from the beginning. However, you don't have a clear push here.
Into the backswing?
Yeah, in the backswing, at this point, this should be higher here. So you should go high up and then going down here.
Okay.
Not much push.
Would that be
because
from the trail side?
you started with the larger force on the trail side from the beginning. So you're standing like this, and then you already have more force on this side here. And this is just the spinning.
I'm just spinning on that, actually. That makes sense.
But actually, in this position, you should have more force on this side here at the beginning. And then from there, start to this. But you're already standing on this side here. Then, so initially, these two forces should be crossed here. So these two should be crossed here, should cross. So you have more force at the beginning. You have more force on the lead side, but already you have more force on this side because wide stance, and you tend to lean to this side here. So this should cross here, and then good push here. So this has to go higher, then continuous unrating here. But you see, this is this is a bit below the body weight, so unweighting here, but up to this point, this is hesitation here, and then you are starting unweighting again. So two-stage unweighting. But when the backswing and downswing are better connected, then what happens is this force will continue. You will have a continuous unweighting here. Then unweighting peak occurs a bit early, and then it will go. Then you don't have to go this high here, because you are starting this increase in the force early. Then you don't have to have this rapid slope here. This is really steep. That means you are pushing the ground hard.
Yeah.
These can be all sort of injury risk when the force increases too rapidly. Okay? Then the loading is called the loading rate, but the loading rate is high. That these are all injury risks. So you can still generate enough force here by starting this early and gradually increasing the force. You can certainly reach enough force here. But because this is delayed here, then you have to rapidly increase. That means you have to push the ground hard. With that, too much push here, so then at impact you have unweighting here. So, again, this is the force here. The red line is the combined force. And then the green is the force acting on the leader foot. Blue is the force acting on the trail foot here. You already have more force on this side. Your body is, upper body is leaning this way. You have really strong right hand grip here, and you have more force acting on the trail side. From there, not much. You just have early spinning motion. You don't have a good notable push here. When you have a good push, then you have a continuous unweighting, but you don't have much push here. Rather, you actually had something early here. And then a little bit of unweighting, and you are starting, another unweighting again here. And with that, you have a hard push. This is too much, so you have to go unweighting here. But the good news is that you're generating enough torque. So this is the momentum, which shows the separation. So let's go to the downswing side here. So the force inclines here, and then this separation here between the center of mass and this arrow. There's a perpendicular line here, separation. This is called the momentum or lever arm. It's important to maintain long lever arm here. In the backswing, you don't have that much here. But in the downswing, you're generating good lever arm by the time you reach top of backswing here, because the force arrow is fairly inclined here. And then this momentum times force gives a torque in the frontal plane. So you're generating good amount of torque. So part of the reason why you have a faster speed is because you are using the ground actively. Okay? By using long momentum here, and then this is the longest momentum here at the maximum unweighting here. And then, so you have a good the slope here, or the inclination. So you're maintaining long momentum. So the torque is way above elite man's average maximum. So this is good. So this is the positive side. But this is coming from your muscular effort, a lot of effort there. If you have a good rhythmic motion, without putting that much effort, you can generate a large amount of torque.
Okay.
So this force is close to 2 times the body weight here. It's a bit too much. And then because of this push you have now, unweighting here. So as you approach toward the impact, the force inclines backward quite a bit, force decreases here, and then it is now passing through the center of mass here. The momentum becomes 0, the torque becomes 0. After that, the force passes on the opposite side here. The torque is in the opposite direction. So while your rotation is going this way, the torque you're generating using the ground is going in the opposite direction. This is because of the unweighting here. It's a bit too much. So what happens is, as you pull,
It should be doing that motion, but you're saying the amount of it's too much?
it's too much.
Okay.
So as you pull this down, your body is moving up. So essentially, this is a sort of a dragging pattern here. As you're pulling this down this way, your body is moving up here. It's easy to actually go that way.
Yeah.
Instead, swing through. This versus swing through. Part of the reason why you have to pull and then lift your body could be your club. D 7.8, almost a D8. It's pretty high.
Heavy?
Your swing weight is almost a D8. So part of the reason why you have that kind of a dragging pattern is because, it could be because it has too much swing weight.
Like the head's too heavy, or like on the
It's definitely the head is too heavy. So when you feel the head is heavy, you tend to drag it,
Oh, okay.
pull here, instead of letting it go. Yeah. So particularly amateur golfers, low handicap amateur golfers tend to use too heavy a club. You are using a club heavier than professional players.
Yeah.
And when you use a heavy club, you feel you're strong, but it dictates your swing pattern. So tend to have a dragging pattern here because it's too heavy, so you cannot easily throw the end. So you rely on dragging. Then in order to pull this down, your body has to move up by pushing the ground and the pulling at the same time. That's why typically you have excessive force here. After that, at impact, you have this unrating here. Could be because of your club. You should be able to release it and really let the club head go here instead of. And then when you drag it here, your hands tend to go inward automatically. So these are all related. So although you are generating large torque here, so this is the source of your club speed. Okay? But you're putting a lot of effort using your muscles. It's fairly muscle-driven swing.
Makes sense. But like on the club and stuff, so should it be a heavier grip to counterbalance
No,
the
no,
head
no.
weight, or
No,
just
no, no.
overall weight less?
You
Or
need to
less head weight.
you need to remove the extra.
Those big grips, they're big, but they're supposed to be the same weight.
The grip is not that heavy. So there's an extra weight on the head, right?
Yeah.
You need to use a bit lighter one.
What about on the irons?
Iron's the same. There's no reason to use high swing weight clubs. You may feel, because you have to put a lot of effort, you may feel strong,
Yeah.
but actually in terms of club speed is detrimental. And then in terms of overall swing pattern, it's detrimental because you have to drag it. Yeah, when I was looking
But
at
you can't change the weight on the club, the iron itself.
irons, there are also some irons, they have extra weights,
Yeah.
and you can play with that. But so, for the moment, for the driver, at least, you can use a bit lighter weight so that you can easily release it. For releasing, the thick grip is a problem. The feel is not as good as thinner ones. Okay? So when you just drag it, the thick grip is okay.
Yeah.
But when you release, when you have a lot of motion here, when you're holding it this way, it's hard to move your wrist complex. This is easier. So those are something that you need to consider. And then let me show you a different pattern here, which will be a good contrast to yours.
Okay.
And then this will probably inspire you a little bit. So in his case, club speed is 114, about 115, so maybe slightly faster than yours. Mm-hmm. And you can see that his peak occurs, this is the backswing here, but his peak occurs more on the second half here. Yours was more at the center here.
Yeah.
So he's building climax toward the end of backswing. And then again, the standard deviation is a lot smaller. So he has a more consistent backswing.
Yeah, that line's pretty solid.
And then this is top view, swing plane and the hand motion plane.
Lined up.
Yeah, pretty much parallel to each other. And also, this is where the hand motion plane hits the ground. This is way inside the swing plane here because hand motion plane is steeper. So it hits the ground, closer to the body than the swing plane. And then when everything is aligned along the swing plane, you can see that his club head is pretty much moving along the swing plane initially, goes above and have nice looping motion here. And on the way down, early on, his club head approaches to the swing plane here. So by the time the club reaches here, the center of mass is already on the swing plane here. So he has really clean planar motion. And then goes above. So he has nice looping motion here because he's following steeper path here, and then looping motion to bring it down. And then his swing plane is pretty much passing through this point here. Here's the elbow. And then look at the elbow. The elbow is more or less moving along the swing plane in the backswing here. And then club shows a slight crossover. It's not too much, almost parallel to the swing plane. So this alignment is also reasonable. And then because of this looping motion, he has around here, he has good shallowing motion. The club head goes initially above, and then it's dropping toward the swing plane, and then going through the top of backswing position here. So, and then swing and then let it go here. So at impact,
And
you will see that
it kind of follows the swing plane on the.
You see that the arms are aligned this way, and then club is aligned this way. So there's an angle between them. And then center of mass. So center of mass goes below the initial. So dropping the center of mass.
Is that an impact?
Impact is here, 10.
Okay.
This is when the club aligns vertically.
So dropping.
So he is reaching the high position when the pelvis rotation is completed. This 5 is end of pelvis rotation. And then top of backswing. And then ED8 is when the club pretty much aligns vertically here, about here.
That's below the starting point.
Yeah.
So it drops his hips.
And then it goes up, but not too high here. And then pelvis motion. These are fairly well, particularly he shows more pelvis turn toward the targeted impact here. And then go down and up, but this up is not too much. It goes above the initial position, but not too much. So
is that total?
No, this is the up and down motion. So position, it shows position. So initial shift away and recentering here, and then keep moving toward the target. X factor, it keeps increasing all the way here. It hits the men's average here. Kinematic sequence. So these peaks are happening toward the middle of the backswing here. And then the arms are here, and then club here. 3 and 4 are separated. So that means in the front view here, in the backswing, this is 3 when the lead arm is parallel to the ground. Then 4, the club becomes vertical here. So we have separation here. And he has good down cocking here. So he has a bigger backswing than you. And then on the way down, he has good down cocking. He's not pushing this away too early. Good down cocking, and then he has a delayed release here. So this is when he starts uncocking. And then his wrist angular velocity goes above elite man's average. So his main source of speed is actually the wrist motion. So you don't have to move the body that rigorously when you effectively use the wrist complex, cocking and uncocking motion. And then also he reaches peak angular velocity of the pelvis and thorax early enough, and then he loses good amount of angular velocity here, from here to the impact. But his wrist angular velocity increases rapidly here, reaches here. So it goes above man's average. So the club angular velocity goes above man's average here. So he's using his uncocking motion better. So, and then in the transition sequence, you have good sequential transition here.
Mm-hmm.
So these lines has to separate like this instead of crossing here and there. So these should be all separated here, all separated here. So the lines should show like this instead of crossing here and there. And then in the frontal plane here, you see he has a good push here. Initially, he has more force on the lead foot, more on this side here. Using this, he's starting the backswing motion. Now the two forces become equal to each other.
Okay.
And then he has a good push from the trail side here. And this goes above the body weight. And after that, the unweighting starts from here, continuous unweighting all the way to this here. And then he is also generating good amount of good moment time here. So his torque is already here at elite man's average maximum. It stays pretty much around there. And his push, so his maximum push is here, is about 1.85 times body weight. It's not as much as yours. However, at impact, it still stays above the body weight here because he's swinging through instead of pull this and then almost jumping. Yeah. So when people say you need to generate a lot of force using the ground, it's not true. It's important to generate enough force. However, if it's too much, then it promotes unweighting at impact. And then usually when you have that much force, it's typically coming from pulling this down and then at the same time pushing the ground. Okay, so he also maintains good amount of torque here from here to here, as you can see. Mm-hmm. But it's mainly coming from reasonable push, but he has a continuous unweighting here.
Right.
From there, the force is rising. And the maximum force here. And then near the impact, the force stays near the center of mass here. So moment time is close to zero, the torque is close to zero, but it doesn't go below the axis here. When it goes below the axis, then that means the force is acting on the left side. Mm-hmm. It causes torque in the opposite direction. So there's no reason to generate torque in the opposite direction while you're rotating this way here. So you're putting a lot of effort here, mm-hmm. but near the impact, the torque actually going in the opposite, so you're losing the torque. And then if we look at the force pattern here, the peak forward-backward force occurs here, a bit later than yours. And with that, it shows a crossing here. So again, there is a way to put less effort, but still generate similar effect. But when you put too much effort using your muscles, mm-hmm. then it's hard to control the
proper sequence.
And then essentially the shot outcome will be more variable because you're putting a lot of effort there. So you have to make your swing easier, but for that you have to have a larger backswing. Large enough backswing here. Don't fight. Instead of go here and try to go down. But for that, you have to find the right path early on. So instead of having early quick spinning motion, you have to promote more away motion than backward motion here. Let it go this way and then make a bit steeper path here. So they simplify the calibrated motion. Then you can really build the rhythm. But currently, since you are relying too much on your muscles here, and it seems that your club is a bit too heavy. Okay, when you consider all these things, then you're just hitting, you're muscling muscling it basically, instead of developing good rhythmic motion. The first thing in the rhythmic motion is this here. You have to start with the more force acting on the lead foot here. That's why we practice the two-step swing here.
Right.
Throw it this way, and then when you start here, with this motion, you're loading onto this side here.
Right.
Using this, you're starting the backswing, and then in the backswing, when you turn actively, now you're pushing the ground with the trail leg here. So lead, trail, and then lead here. Lead, trail, and lead. But in your case, you're already starting from here, putting more force on this side.
Trail.
Yeah. So then spinning here, early spinning, it goes flat, the short backswing, and then try to use the muscles. So you have to pay attention to the flow of motion. But more than anything, you need to change the way you start the backswing.
Okay.
So you need to have a good image of the swing plane here.